missing someone. Love with all your heart. Missing someone. Love with heart.
What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. So this week I have a fun transformation for you guys. So this client of mine, we are going to be doing a rainbow transformation. So I'm going to first highlight her roots and brighten them up, and then we are going to do some rainbow overlays. Her hair is on the coarser side and it does have a bit of texture, so at the very end I am going to be doing a keratin treatment that helps tame her frizz, so it's easy for her to style her hair and go a little bit longer in between washes. And since we're going to be doing a keratin afterwards, I do like to do the full color service before the keratin because I don't want to do the bleaching after the keratin because that can remove the keratin. So it's always good to do your bleaching and highlights or balayage before you do any type of keratin treatment in their hair. And basically, if you guys don't know what a keratin treatment is, it just kind of helps tame the frizz in the hair, and I use the keratin complex. I'm not going to go over the product or the application of the keratin complex, but I do want to mention that we are going to be doing a keratin treatment afterwards because we haven't done it in her hair in a while. And you can see her roots are pretty frizzy, and it usually lasts her a pretty good amount of time. I would say a keratin treatment typically should last about like 3 to 4 months on a client, but she feels like sometimes the keratin treatment can leave some lasting effects on her hair to where it doesn't go back completely frizzy as it would if it didn't have a keratin treatment. So this client, she waits pretty long between visits only because she doesn't want to bleach her hair too often, and she lives kind of far, so it's a bit of a drive for her to come out to see me. So I do a combination of some foliage and highlights on her. So I'm just going in and basically picking out all of the dark weaves that I left out the previous session that we had, and this way I'm able to really meticulously pick out all of the hairs and not overlap onto any previous blonde. That way we can ensure that her hair stays super healthy in between the process, and she can go a little bit longer in between visits opposed to doing a traditional bleach and tone where everything is bleached solid all the way to the root. And when I'm taking my sections, I do take them pretty thin to where I can really see and pay close attention to the details of where or what hair needs to be lightened. So I would say I take maybe like a 1/4 of an inch section all the way up, and I'm really just picking out those pieces. My lightener for today, I'm using the Blonde Me Schwarzkopf lightener that I use on most of my clients who are naturally this dark, and I mixed a bowl of 6 and 20 for the very first one, and then for the rest of the head I just like to use 20 volume. Now since it's been a bit long, you can see the amount of regrowth that I need to relighten is about like 3 to 4 inches. I am going pretty much back to back throughout her whole head. I don't want to leave too much negative space because you can see the parts that I have to lighten up are actually pretty long compared to where you see the color starting on her head. So I am just going back to back doing a really full application here since her roots are a little bit longer than usual. And when I'm doing this type of application, I really want to make sure that my sections are super clean. This way, when I go back in to re-highlight her next time, I can clearly see where I left off. And here, as I'm going in and doing the front hairline piece, I'm just doing slices here to give her nice, beautiful, bold color on her face. This is going to help her feel like she has more of a bleach and tone effect compared to just like doing like a foliage and highlights. And I like to do this all the way up the mohawk section of her head, and then I like to detail the hairlines afterwards and finish up the sides. So like I mentioned earlier, this client, her hair just doesn't fade like it normally would on someone else who gets creative color. I feel like whenever we do any type of bright color on her hair, it lasts a lot longer, which is in her favor because she absolutely loves it and she gets the most out of it because it doesn't fade as it normally would on a normal person. It does really last her months and months. So that is also a reason why this is a really good technique for this specific client, because she's able to go a little bit longer and I'm able to touch up her roots very carefully without damaging her hair or risk of overlapping or worrying about banding or anything like that, because we do it this way. And you know, even though this client's natural is about a level, I would say she's about a level like 2 or 3, her natural color is pretty dark. I would say it's close to black, more than a dark brown, and her hair does lift very well. I believe it's because I take such fine sections here and make sure that they're very see-through and that I fully and thoroughly saturate. I feel like if I use any other lightener, it might take a little bit longer or it might lift a little uneven depending on my sectioning and saturation. So honestly, whenever you're doing dark hair or highlighting hair that is naturally so dark and you want them to get really light, the key is sections and saturation whenever doing this type of application. So on the sides, I probably did a few slices at the hairline and just kind of taking diagonal backs all the way up to the back of those sections. So once her foils reached pretty much a level 9 and 10, they were ready to be rinsed, and I like to lighten her pretty light so that these creative color tones can fade out really pretty. And as I'm going through, I'm just taking foil by foil and just kind of meshing them together with the ends there. So for our colors, we're going to be using a mix of the Pulp Bright semis. So my pink is a mix of candy with some Cupid, the orange is nuclear and some lava, that purple is elixir, some velvet, the blue is blue muse and some clear, the green is flytrap, the yellow is satire, and that black is just noir. So before putting on these semis, she wanted a very specific color placement, so I've already pre-sectioned her hair out with some hair chopsticks. I believe these ones are from Paul Mitchell, but she wanted the color to pretty much overlay on top of each other to see more of ribbons and the colors blended together. So the bottom section here, she didn't really want to highlight because she felt like the back of her hair was kind of breaking off, so we didn't highlight the root of it, so we're just putting noir on the bottom. And then you can see on the very top, we already discussed that she wanted purple to be on the top to overlay everything so that when she wears her hair down, the purple overlays on top of the rainbow underneath. So I made sure to pre-section those pieces out, and then I also asked her where she wanted the colors, like which color she wanted more of, and I believe she said she didn't want too much of the yellow, so those sections like the yellow and the orange I did make a little bit thinner than the rest. And then so now I'm going in after that noir section and adding in the purple, and I'm just going to continue the rainbow pattern all the way towards the top of her head. And you know, honestly, this was my first time using the chopsticks as a sectioning tool, and I really did love it. I feel like it kept my sections super clean, and I did like the way that it looked as well too. It made it super easy for me to like section out the hair and only take what I needed as I was painting through. And then you could also use like the pieces of the chopstick to kind of section out the hair and like place it over it to kind of get it out of your way a little bit, just like that. So I did enjoy using the chopsticks, especially if you're going to be doing a lot of sectioning that the clips are kind of hard to kind of get through. So once all the color was done applying, I let this sit for about like 25 to 30 minutes at room temperature before rinsing it out with some ice cold water. But you can see how satisfying and bright these colors are, and I honestly love the placement that we did too. I feel like this is going to fade really pretty on her. On a normal client, I would say this might last like maybe like a month and a half. But on her, I feel like it'll probably last her like 2 to 3 months. But yeah, after this was all done, I pretty much just rinsed her, and then we started to do the keratin application process. Alrighty guys, so here is the finished look. I really loved this transformation. I had so much fun doing it, and she was just so ecstatic to have colorful hair again. Also, we tried super hard to kind of get good pictures and videos, but honestly the sun had already set, and it's really hard to get really good pictures and videos with just a ring light and the regular salon lighting. So I swear this color looked even more beautiful in person with how bright it was, and her hair was just so smooth and healthy after the keratin treatment that we had done. But yeah, you can see even though we did a keratin treatment that had a lot of straightening involved with it, the colors were still super vibrant in person. Sometimes if I do a keratin treatment on a client, I will try to make the color a little bit darker, a little bit more vibrant, because sometimes the flat ironing portion of the treatment can make the color just fade a little bit just because of the heat. So I made sure to just make sure that the colors were nice and bright so that the keratin treatment wouldn't help it fade too much. Alrighty guys, so that is it for this week's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and as always, I will talk to you guys next week.